music.
Well, don't you want to be in there in the beginning too? You could turn it to you.
Okay, let me turn it to me. And that's me. Hello. This is the pre-show. Soon we're gonna talk the real show. There you go. Superstar. Okay, so okay. Soon we're gonna start the show. Right, Aimee? Soon?
Right.
How soon?
Any minute now.
There you go. That's the idea.
Oops.
Where's the music? Come on, music.
You won't find him down on Sunset or at a party in the hills, at the bottom of the bottle, or when you're tripping on some pills. When they sold you the dream, you were just 16, packed a bag and ran away. And it's a crying shame you came all this way, cause you won't find Jesus in LA. And it's a crying shame you came all this way, cause you won't find Jesus in LA.
The Cure with Aimee Cabo. Life can bring many difficult situations: domestic violence, addictions, poverty, and even sexual abuse by your loved ones. Welcome, Aimee Cabo and The Cure.
Good afternoon and welcome to The Cure. I'm your host, Aimee Cabo, always joined by Boris. Some things never change.
And that's me. Hello.
Our show is available live on your radio through our app called The Cure, on our website, God is the Cure. And we are also broadcasting live on Facebook. Search for God is the Cure. Please click on send a message button, and then you can send us a question or a comment. We would love to hear from you. This show deals with suffering and the tenacity of the human spirit, the will to survive, and the courage to keep moving forward, despite any obstacle, with the help of God and each other. We do provide testimonies to let people know that they're not alone. And in this show, the testimony started with me, having been a survivor from child abuse and well into young adulthood. We also have professionals in the medical field and inspirational speakers that are willing to help and can give valuable information. Because education is key, transparency is needed, and I believe we can be there for each other. For me, my healing came from God, but other forms of healing are presented as well to service everyone. As it is, life can be very challenging, but always know that we're not alone. We will not find God in the wrong places or in the wrong company, or when self-medicating. We may have packed our bags and ran away, and it's a crying shame if we came all this way, because we will not find Jesus in LA. And basically, it means that sometimes we look for happiness in the wrong places, with the wrong people, or in doing the wrong things, sacrificing our beliefs and allowing our faith to fade away. Sometimes we believe we don't have a choice, but we always do, even when it seems impossible. So today we will be discussing relentless triumphs over unbelievable trials. And our special guest is Chelli Wolford. Chelli is the founder of Bloom, the first co-working space for women in Las Vegas. She has thrived in a male-dominated industry, including the wireless industry and music entertainment management business, where she continues to play a strategic role in international superstar Pitbull's brand partnership and organizational strategy. Her success did not come without hardship. Chelli experienced extreme sexual abuse at a young age at the hands of a family member, and then again while a student at the U.S. Naval Academy. Never one to let obstacles deter her from her vision for success, she persevered and ultimately became one of the most successful women in business. Her latest project, Bloom, is Las Vegas' first and only co-working space specifically created for women. She has created a culture at Bloom that is a safe and creative space where women can embrace freedom of expression, pursue their professional passion, and collaborate with other inspirational women. Chelli, thank you for being on the show. We are now live on The Cure.
Wonderful. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it very much.
Chelli, I've never heard of Bloom. This is something that's very new to me. And I know that it's in Las Vegas. And by saying that you're one of the first women for the co-working space, what exactly is that? Can you tell us a little bit more about it and how it came about?
I can. So Bloom was born from, necessity is the mother of invention. I had moved back to Las Vegas, and I was doing strategic consulting, and I was working out of my kitchen on my kitchen bar. And it would be at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and I would look around and go, okay, have I talked to anyone in real life today? I, only see my neighbors when I walk my dog, and I was just feeling really disconnected from community. So I wanted a space to work, and I was looking at co-working is pretty popular now with the giants like WeWork and the Riveter and other co-working spaces. So I looked in Las Vegas to see what co-working spaces existed, and there just wasn't anything that was what I wanted, which was a beautiful place to go. So something I looked forward to going to. And this chapter of my life, I just wanted to be surrounded by women. I spent most of my life surrounded by men in the military, corporate world, music industry. And, this chapter of my life, I really specifically just wanted to harness
And when you say co-working, what do you mean by co-working space?
So for example, you are an entrepreneur starting a business and can't afford a lease in an office yet, but don't want to work from your home. You could come to Bloom, and for a monthly membership fee, use Bloom as your office.
Oh.
So it's an easier way for women who are starting businesses to have a professional workspace. We have, conference rooms. We have everything you would find in a traditional office without what I like to say, the soul-sucking fluorescent lights or cubicles. It's a beautiful space. So I have members that are real estate agents or that are just starting their own businesses that work remotely for large corporations that, again, just are tired of being at home and we're missing the community. So
a place where they can work together, especially if they're starting out. You're basically a pioneer for the advancement of women's career. That's amazing.
Thank you. No, it's again, it was something that I was looking for. And so I found, I decided I looked around. There wasn't anything that was interesting to me. And it was something that I talked about for 2 years. I'm thinking about doing this. I want to open this space. My market research were all my girlfriends. And they're like, Chelli, you should do this. This is a great idea. It's a great idea. So 2 years, it's almost 2 years that I've opened next month, and 60-plus members. And it's an amazing community of women, and magic happens there every day. It's women that help each other, that support each other in their businesses. They collaborate. It's like a mastermind. You find solutions. I think it's easier for us women to solve other people's problems than our own.
That's amazing,
So,
because more minds working together, even better.
Yes, absolutely.
And probably being that it's all women, it's easy to understand one another, I guess.
It really is. It's just different energy. And it's funny, when I first opened, I had a few men, just like, why all women? Why not men? I'm like, listen. I'm like, Bloom is not against men. We're for women, and there's a difference. And the energy is different. And men are allowed to come in for meetings. They just can't be members.
Right.
And we really
okay.
haven't had a problem with that. And I've also said, like, okay, guys, if you have the rest of the world, can I have this 3,000 square feet, please?
Yeah, that's so funny.
Okay, so now I'm gonna talk. Sorry. Hi.
Oh.
So for women, that's super cool. Do you know if that exists for men only?
Is there co-working spaces for men? He wants to know.
I think when they first opened, they were primarily men.
Oh, really? Oh.
Where have we been?
I don't think. Yeah, I mean, you think about country clubs, like you think about all the things that have existed that were just for men for a very long time.
Yeah, I don't think we suffer it. Yeah.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
I see. I'm getting it now. But I mean, Chelli, tell me a little bit about how, because you've overcome so much. You are an amazing woman. I know that you came from a small town in Ohio. And not only that, but you were abandoned by your mother at birth. And
yeah, not at birth, about 18 months in. So I was born in Miami to a Cuban mom and my dad, who's from Ohio. So I like to say I'm half Cuban and half redneck because that's 100% true.
I like it.
And so when I was about 18 months old, my mom. So I think where it went terribly wrong is when my dad moved my Cuban mother and me and my sister from Miami to the Newark, Ohio, which is a very small town and kind of backwards, and probably definitely at that time, for sure there was racial tensions. So my mom felt very uncomfortable, and she was, 23, 24 years old with two little girls, and my older sister is not my dad's daughter. So there was complications. So she one day was just wanted to move back to Miami. Her and my dad were splitting up, and she called my grandparents, my dad's parents, and said, I'm moving back to Miami. I'm taking, Jenny, my oldest sister. Do you want Chelli? And at the time, my grandparents were like, of course, like, what are you going to do with her? Like, well, yes, we'll take her. So that was the beginning of being raised by my grandparents until I was 5.
And I definitely want to go more into that because I want to show our listeners, or at least let them know, that it doesn't matter how difficult life starts out, that you can still be successful and make an imprint in life, make a difference for others. I'm Aimee Cabo, and this is The Cure. We will continue talking to Chelli after the short break. Please stay with us.
We will be right back with Aimee Cabo and The Cure.
To give to the guests.
Life can bring many difficult situations: domestic violence, addictions, poverty, and even sexual abuse by your loved ones. The issue is not stay there, but to overcome all obstacles and show that with the love of God, your husband, and your family, you can succeed. Love is the answer, God is the cure, reveals Aimee Cabo's life, a warrior who didn't give up and achieved the dream of her life. You can get to know more about her and her story on godisthecure.com or buying her book on amazon.com.
We'll have questions.
Never let your feelings sit in judgment over your faith.
Dr. Tony Evans says no matter what your emotions are telling you, the Lord is still in control.
I don't care what crisis you are now going through, you're not the first one God has had to address.
It's a look at the upside of down times, focusing on how God gets his people to reach out for revival. This week on The Alternative with Dr. Tony Evans.
The eloquent words of some of our old hymns manage to add beauty to the darkest days of life. Hello, I'm Chuck Swindoll. Here's an example. When through fiery trials thy pathway shall lie, my grace, all sufficient, shall be thy supply. The flame shall not hurt thee. I only designed thy dross to consume and thy gold to refine. What beautiful words. You and I might never have thought to describe a difficult period like that. But others before us have suffered, remember, and they've left behind these wonderful words to encourage us to hold on to hope, to press forward, to trust in our God.
Pastor and teacher Chuck Swindoll. Visit Insight for Living's website at insight.org.
Maybe I'm just making a big deal over nothing. Over nothing. Maybe I'm paranoid. Got these thoughts in my head that I can't avoid. I was looking at you the other day. Yeah, you used to look in my eyes. Now you look away. Oh, I was looking at you the other day.
And now we will continue with Aimee Cabo and The Cure.
Welcome back to the show. For those that are just tuning in, I'm Aimee Cabo and this is The Cure. And we're talking to Chelli Wolford about radical triumphs over unimaginable trials. We are live on your radio, also on Facebook. And later the show will be available as a podcast. Just search for The Cure on iTunes. Sometimes we do make a big deal over nothing. It's all about the way we look at it, and we can be paranoid. These fruitless thoughts can also be considered worrying. Others call it stress. It can be jealousy or suspicion, but they all get us nowhere. We just self-sabotage. And I think Stephen Puth outlines it when he says, she looks to look in my eyes and now she looks away. But it's always a very nice, humble song because he gets it. And getting it is it's the first step in solving it. Chelli, we were talking about you having been abandoned by your mother, which I'm really sorry to hear that. That must have been very hard for you. But you had grandparents, right, that raised you. And I know, I understand that at one point you had experienced unspeakable sexual abuse, first from a family member and then at the Naval Academy. How were you able to find the strength to forgive them and overcome it?
That's a good question. I think years and years of just doing the work to heal my wounds and understanding that hurt people. And also, I think what I like to say now is healed people heal people. So from my family member, it was an uncle that molested me, but he was a teenager at the time. But for years, I demonized him and obviously was very angry and very upset. And I know you know what it feels like to be sexualized at such a young age, because I think that was my very first memory on this planet, is being molested by my uncle when I was 3. So, so for years, I was very angry about it and feeling broken and like I didn't know where to go in my life. Like that this thing happened to me, and that was always going to be my story. And then when it happened again, my first year, so I grew up in a small town in Ohio. I was adopted by my aunt when I was 7. So my grandmother died when I was 5. So I had my childhood was very chaotic. I moved around a lot until I got a little bit settled with my aunt. But then,
Chelli, I just want to go back to where you said hurt people. And I've been doing a lot of research, and when it comes to teenagers and younger people, because my brother tried something, and I think a cousin may have when I was younger too, besides my stepfather. Mm-hmm. But there's also another thing that there's specialist that deals with that she has researched in her 30 years of investigating. When it comes to young people, they get addicted to pornography.
Mm.
And
yeah, I mean, so about 5 years ago, because I've been writing about it writing is part of my therapy. So for years I've been writing about what happened to me and how I overcame it. And my uncle sent me a message on Facebook about 5 years ago, and owned all of it. He told me that he had also been molested as a child, which that happens a lot. So he had male cousins that had done unspeakable things to him.
Wow.
And he was just like, I'm so sorry. This happened to me. I'm so sorry I did it to you. You can do whatever you want with this information. Meaning, if I wanted to take it to the cops or something. But it was the most healing email of my life, because
that's really nice.
I saw him as not a demon, but actually a teenage boy who had also been violated in terrible ways.
A person that needed help themselves.
What?
He's someone that needed help himself.
Yes, exactly. That's what that was my response back to him. I'm like, geez, there was just nobody watching over us back then. All these things were happening, and where were the adults in our lives? But we grew up kind of feral. So, yeah, he needed help as well. And I have so much respect for the fact that he was able to send me something like that, to put it in writing and just come clean. And it was
amazing.
Was immediately healing.
That's amazing that everybody gets that. That's
Oh my God, can you imagine?
Yeah, no, it's usually I don't believe it's what usually happens. So that really is amazing that they can realize that it's something that they need to help themselves about, and something that they need to fix, or something that they need to take care of. Otherwise, if they think it's okay, it just continues.
Yeah. And he's a good man. He's obviously, we're both much older now, and he's a good person. He's married, grandchildren. He's a good guy. So the beauty of what happened to both of us is that we both broke the cycle of dysfunction, the legacy that was that side of our family.
And that just comes to show there's second chances even for him. Even someone like that, God can forgive and can be a good person, because we don't know what's the motivation or what's behind, what's the source behind the action.
Yeah, absolutely. I believe that all of us, in our pure, our source energy, our pure potential, we are born pretty perfect and beautiful, and then life happens to us, and some of us get, some tougher lemons than others.
That's a great way to put it.
It really is what you do with it.
Yeah, it's a choice you make. It's a choice you make. I mean, people don't realize it, and a lot of times we lie to ourselves, and it's really the enemy making us believe that we don't have a choice, that there's only the way that's the wrong way, and that it's impossible because it seems too difficult to do it the right way. That happens a lot to most of us. But, knowing is important. Once you know, you can fix it. You can pray. That's how I fix it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think what I heard in what you were saying, there's different modalities. I think prayer is important. I think meditation is important. I think it's really important to do self-analysis and understand your darkness. We all have dark sides, and that's okay. And if you embrace the darkness, then you can really get to the light. It's not about, in my opinion, it's not about denying that we all have these sides. It's about embracing it and going, where does that really come from? This neediness or need for attention or whatever it is. It's some wound that has happened.
And even if you don't understand it, because you don't know the what's the source behind the guy at the Naval Academy raping you, even if you don't understand it, you can still go forward. You can still move forward and forgive the person, because after all, it's not up to me. That's for God to take care of, for God to judge, not for us.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think it's also important. I haven't experienced anything bad, but but also I think it's important for people that have gone through things like that to report them and to go forward, because this is protecting the next one.
Oh,
It is
definitely.
important. It's
That's
a
what these
different
shows are
time
for.
now.
Chelli, stay with us.
I'm Aimee Cabo, and this is The Cure. We will continue to talk to Chelli after the short break. Please stay with us.
We will be right back with Aimee Cabo and The Cure.
Now I'm at 3 with, no, this is gonna be, hey.
We're going to be there.
Hi, I'm Johnny Erickson Tata, and the Bible tells us to worship God with all our heart and soul and strength. Now, right there, God is telling us to worship Him with everything we've got, everything that's in us. But what does that mean? How do we know we're worshiping the Lord as we should? Well, listen to these words from William Temple, a Christian statesman from the last century. He says, "Worship is the submission of all our nature to God. It is the quickening of the conscience by His holiness. Worship is the renewal of our mind by His word. Worship is the purifying of our imagination by His beauty, the opening of the heart to His love. Worship is the surrender of will to His purpose. All these things gathered up in adoration of the Lord Jesus Christ." Friend, adoration is the most selfless emotion of which your nature is capable. That's a great definition for worship.
Life can bring many difficult situations: domestic violence, addictions, poverty, and even sexual abuse by your loved ones. The issue is not stay there, but to overcome all obstacles and show that with the love of God, your husband, and your family, you can succeed. Love is the answer, God is the cure, reveals Aimee Cabo's life, a warrior who didn't give up and achieved the dream of her life. You can get to know more about her and her story on godisthecure.com or buying her book on amazon.com.
Next time on Focus on the Family, Dr. Tony Evans explains what it means to have a kingdom marriage under God's authority and for His glory. He shares about maintaining oneness, the importance of having a servant's heart, and how to rebuild a marriage relationship that's been fractured. God's wisdom for your marriage on the next Focus on the Family.
Now we will continue with Aimee Cabo and The Cure.
We're back. Thanks for joining us. I'm Aimee Cabo, and you're listening to The Cure, live every Friday at 1 p.m. on your radio, on our app The Cure, live on Facebook. Just search for God is a Cure. You can send us a message or ask us a question by clicking Send Message. It's nice to know that my kind will be on my side. That is God and all His people and creation. It's a comforting feeling. And I have learned not to believe the hype, not the lies told by others or the lies I tell myself. And even if I feel a terrible sight, I know I'll be just fine. Guys, just don't believe the hype. We are continuing our conversation with Chelli about the power of the human spirit. Chelli, last when we were talking, I started off, Chelli, that we were talking about, and give me a second because I'm just getting back to it. And, okay, so we were talking about that even no matter what life throws at you, no matter what we get in life, we can still move forward and we can still overcome things. And so I wanted to ask you, Chelli, one of the favorite questions that Oprah asks is, what do you know for sure? So So I ask you, Chelli, what do you know for sure?
I love that question, and I love Oprah. What I know for sure is the world is better if we all love ourselves and always come from a place of love. Decisions made from a place of love. But I really think it's deeply, deeply important to, and it's a cliche, but I think it's a cliche because it's true, but you really need to learn to love yourself and all parts of yourself, and love the obstacles that you went through, love the, the trauma, love all of it. And when we have like radical self-acceptance, then beautiful things can occur and bloom from there. Absolutely.
That is so important, because if you really think about it, who's going to do a better job for you than yourself? Who's going to care more about it than yourself? And you're supposed to be your own best friend. But you've really gotten far in life, and you've had a very interesting life, Chelli. Let's say, for example, Pitbull is one of the most innovative, entrepreneurially successful music artists in the entertainment world. So tell me, what was working for him in a strategic role been like for you?
Can I just say that I love Pitbull?
I will tell him you said that. Working with him has been maybe one of the greatest blessings of my life. And I will tell you, when he asked me to work with him, I thought, as the older, more experienced, military background, corporate world background, startup background, that I was going to be bringing just so much wisdom to him. And I did. However, I had no idea how much he would bring to me. And the thing that people don't realize about him, and his real name's Armando, is that he's so deeply wise. He is a visionary, and all of his, he's about positivity and living in the moment, and, don't stop the party, we may not have tomorrow. Like, these are lyrics in his songs, but they're really how he lives his life. And he's been through he had an insane childhood.
Wow.
And you would never know it to meet him. Like, he has turned all of the positive, or all the negative to positive. He's, turned all the pain into purpose.
Nice.
And it's just really inspiring to work with him. It made me up my game. And I will say, having come from growing up in Ohio and God bless my Ohio family. They saved my life, and I love them very much. But it was a negative. It was more of a negative culture, in that, like, you work hard, then you retire, and then you probably die, and like pay taxes. It's like work to live instead of live to work, and it's a very negative kind of culture. And I didn't realize how much of that I had seeped into my own.
You sure know how to give a
culture.
positive twist to negative things.
Yeah. Yeah. So working with him, I've really looked at my own beliefs. That I'm like, are these really my beliefs? Like, do I believe that you have to, you just stay in one job? And I mean, obviously I don't, because I have my own business. But I just looked at things that I saw growing up around me, and I take the good, which is incredible work ethic, kindest people, very loving, but I let go of the things that weren't working for me, which were this kind of, there's not enough, the scarcity mentality, that I just don't believe. So
don't believe the hype.
So Armando Pitbull is there's plenty for all of us. We bring everybody up together.
Nice.
You don't leave anyone behind.
Excellent.
And it's, all of us doing it. If you talk to him, he would say, it's us, it's we, I'm so grateful, we've all done this. He never, ever takes credit just by himself, ever. I've never heard him do that. It's always all of us.
And it seems like he's had his own set of challenges, whatever came to him in his world.
Yeah, he had some pretty intense challenges. He grew up without parents as well, and in foster care for a short period of time, and then
wow,
his his mom was like in and out of his life, and he's had a very difficult upbringing. But
yeah, and I've seen that in some of the artists, some of the more unique, special people in the entertainment system have had challenges. It's almost as if it helps you grow. It makes you into a bigger, better person or something. I would love to invite him in the show.
I think it inspires creativity. And when you start with, having had all those challenges and overcome them, something he says to me all the time, which if I'm starting to stress out about something, he's like, Mama, don't worry about it. It's all kindergarten at this point. And it's true. It's like once you've gone through so many things, right? Like it's all easy after that.
Nice.
Yeah.
And, I'm sure what could be some of the prejudice or typecasts you've had to overcome along the way just to reach your professionally and personally today. I mean, what have you had? What have been maybe difficulties for you?
I think at the Academy it was being one of the only women. There was very few of us. In the corporate world, being one of the only women, and then I was very young for the positions that I was in. My counterparts were white men that were at least 15 years older than me. But you know what? I always use that to my advantage because people always remember the one woman in the room. And
you kind of stand out.
I love being underestimated. It's one of my favorite things in the world. I just used it as opportunities to grow and I just focused on my lane and continued to be the best doing what I was doing. And especially as you get older, I'm 46 now, I really don't care what other people think. And that serves me quite well. It's important to me. I want to inspire. I want to work hard. I want to create beautiful things. With Bloom, I want to expand it. I want to empower other women to start their businesses or do their scary, risk-taking things. But whether there are people out there going, she doesn't know what she's doing, she's, whatever, I just don't care. I really don't. And that's the beauty of having it happen for so many years. I say that with a bad relationship as well. The beauty of a bad relationship is that you learn to love yourself for real. Because the other
get to appreciate yourself more. That's a great way to look at it. I love it. I truly love it. But Chelli, didn't you have a brother or a sister from birth somewhere out there?
Yeah, I have. I'm the only child of my mom and dad. Okay. But through my mom, I have a brother and sister, a half brother, half sister, and then through my dad, I have a half sister. And then my aunt adopted me when I was 7, so I grew up with her kids, my cousins that are my sisters and brother. So it's weird. I'm an only child technically, but I have lots of siblings.
How did you find out you had siblings? Which one is Pitbull?
Yeah.
Coincidence?
I always knew, I knew that I was adopted. I knew I had a mom who was Cuban and a sister. And then the very first time I ever heard my mother's voice, she called me on my 12th birthday and told me that I had a little brother who was 2, named Mandy. And, so I had Jenny and Mandy. And then, years go by. She said she was going to keep in touch, but that didn't quite happen. And then after I graduated high school and was getting ready to go to the Naval Academy, I went to Miami for the very first time and met my mom.
Okay, we'll get back to this. Chelli, we're going into break. I'll get back to you. When we're back, we'll continue talking with Chelli about being strong despite difficult circumstances and finding one's purpose. I'm Aimee Cabo, and this is The Cure.
We will be right back with Aimee Cabo and The Cure.
Hey, this is Bob Waliszewski. Thanks for listening to Plugged In.
I am attempting to stop an uncontrolled antimatter reaction, which threatens our entire solar system.
The deep space thriller Ad Astra follows a seasoned astronaut named Roy McBride. Roy must uncover the truth about his father's expedition from 30 years before that might be currently threatening the universe. Ad Astra aims for the same thoughtful orbit as other recent sci-fi space films. As such, it deals in brave choices and pulse-quickening action. But audiences must navigate moments of bloody violence that push that action closer to horror movie levels. And that nudges Ad Astra down to a rating of 2 out of 5 for family friendliness. Read the full review at PluggedIn.com/radio. Plugging you into the movies, I'm Bob Waliszewski for Focus on the Family's Plugged In Movie Review.
And sometimes they need, no matter what they've done wrong, whether it's lying or defying or whatever, sometimes they need some time to ponder it.
When your child disobeys, he or she may need some time to think that through. Here's Ginger Hubbard on Focus on the Family Minute.
So ask them those questions, and then maybe have them go to their room and take a little time to ponder what they did, what they should have done instead. And even with lying, you want to have them come back and talk about what they should have done instead. Yeah. And, also we need to be willing to share our struggles. All of us have lied at one time or another. We all are going to struggle with that. And we need to be willing to humble ourselves and go to our kids and perhaps tell them about a time that we told a lie and what the consequences were and why it would have been so much better to be truthful in the first place. Even if it was hard to be truthful, it is always the best thing to tell the truth.
More parenting insights at FamilyMinute.org.
Let's find a place where happiness begins. Come dance in the living room, slave to the way you move. Hurts when I'm leaving you. Hey, just dance in the living room, love with an attitude, drunk doing 80s groove. Hey, we come dance in my living room, slave to the way you move. Hurts when I'm leaving you. Hey, dance in the living room, love with an attitude, drunk. It's only human, you know that it's real.
And now we will continue with Aimee Cabo and The Cure.
We're back. Thanks for joining us. I'm Aimee Cabo, and this is The Cure. You can listen to The Cure every Saturday at 1 p.m. Eastern on your radio or on our app, The Cure. On social media, all shows are available as a video podcast. Please check it out. Just look for The Cure. That's right, guys. Let's find a place where happiness begins. And let's dance in the living room. Slave to the way you move. Live life. Don't forget to create happy moments. It's only human. We are joined by Chelli talking about radical triumphs despite incredible trials. Chelli, we were talking about you growing up, discovering that you had siblings and one of very interesting one. And also, but then you at one point, as when you were young, you went to the Naval Academy. And I didn't think we got a chance to go into that. I wanted to know what was your take on what occurred there, since you have such an interesting point of view, that you are such a forgiving person, that you're such an understanding person, that you realize that it's hurt people that hurt people. I wanted to know what was the case with the Naval Academy.
So the Naval Academy was my ticket out of a small town in Ohio. My aunt was a single mom. There was no college fund. There was no money, coming from anywhere, and nobody else had actually even gone to college. So I had heard about the Naval Academy and decided to apply. I had no idea how hard it was to get into, and I think that served me well, because when you don't know what you can't accomplish, then you can accomplish it. So I applied. I went through the rigorous application process, and I was accepted. So I thought I had made it. I survived my childhood, and I was now on to this incredible institution, going to get an incredible education. I really, truly believed, and this was my 17, 18-year-old self, that I had made it, and I was now going to be in this safe place of integrity and learn, be educated in like how to sail and how to navigate by stars and in engineering. I mean, it's really considered one of the best institutions in the country.
Right.
And what I didn't realize at the time is that I really went from the frying pan to the fire. So
wow.
My first year there, it's called your plebe year. On a Saturday night, I was awoken from a deep sleep by, to this day, I don't know if it was 4 or 5 guys that were in the room. But I was gang raped. My roommates had been out of town on a swimming meet, so I was there by myself. And there were no locks on our doors because they just didn't have them back then. It just wasn't thought of. So after it was over, I was sitting in the closet, which is my place to go to process terrible things. It always has been since I was a little girl. Sitting in the closet, I had an X-Acto blade to my knife, or X-Acto knife to my wrist, and had taken a few marks because I just didn't know how to process what had just happened to me. I was traumatized. I was feeling, and I know, Aimee, I read your book, so I know you know the feeling of why does this keep happening to me? Like, do I have some, like, why did this happen to me?
Yes.
And feeling like it was my fault, or, that's what I get for going to an all-military, mostly manned school. And so my roommates came home the next morning and found me in the closet, and I ended up having to go to the Bethesda Naval Hospital. And at the time, because military academies were very rigorous, people trying to commit suicide was pretty regular. Like, it was something that happened. It didn't alarm too many people because they're like, it's just the stress.
Wow.
So they just saw it as the stress had gotten to me, and at no point did anyone in the hospital, at the academy, ask if anything had happened to me. And I didn't come forward and say that anything had happened to me. I had seen when other women had come forward that their characters would be assassinated. So, yeah, so I was sitting in the hospital and thinking, all right, I have a couple of options here. Like, going back to Ohio was not an option. Like, I can quit, and then they win. Like, this was my education. This was my ticket out. And I just wasn't willing to allow them to make me quit. So my third option was, I'm going to stay, and even though I have to see these guys that did this to me, they have to see me too. And they're going to have to live with what they did as much as I have to live with it. And they were upperclassmen, so they were graduating the next year anyway. So yeah, I think more than any other moment in my life, that moment where I was like, I just not going to let them see that they broke me, changed the trajectory of my life. And I was, but I say it was a strong moment then. I made it through. I white-knuckled it through. Years later, I had to actually do the therapy and talk about what happened. And Boris, to your comment earlier about you should come forward, I had a ton of guilt and shame around the fact that I didn't.
No, but it wasn't your fault. No. I didn't mean it like an accusation.
It for years.
Yeah, I know what you go through because I have read a lot about women that have gone through similar circumstances, especially in the military, and almost none has gone through saying something about it. But just recently, you see how it's happening. A lot of people are, but you were explaining it better.
Yeah, no, it's still, there's a culture of secrecy. It's still a good old boys culture, and it's don't come forward. They try to sweep it under the rug. I think it's gotten better at the academies, but the military, probably more than any other huge organization, has ridiculous incidences of sexual assault and sexual abuse.
And it must have been hard for you to live with it and keep it to yourself and live with that secrecy the whole time that you were there until you graduated and you were able to get help.
It was truly awful. I think about that. I just told the story the other day to one of my Bloom members, and she's like, how did you survive that? I'm like, I honestly don't know how I did it. I just did
God.
it. It was, and actually, I will say,
That's what I tell people.
I had one belief that was like I had already gone through something like this. So I had spent all of my childhood, when no didn't mean no, when my body was being disrespected and, having no agency. So there was part of me that was like, I've been in this situation before, so I know I can make it through.
Nice.
And I did. But, then I had to go back and do some serious healing work and therapy and forgiving myself and forgiving them. And now it seems like a million years ago, thank God. Like, I used to think about it every day, and now I only tell the story to help other women. And it doesn't, it doesn't trigger me like it used to.
Well, you basically turned your pain into purpose, and that's the best thing you can do. And that's the only way that you can win. And it's important to let other people know, because for you, you felt like it was a very difficult position to even say anything. And, I mean, could you turn to a friend? Everyone was a guy. What are you going to do? And there are people that feel alone in the world and that are afraid to say anything or for whatever reason. And I think that's what's beautiful about what you've created. That's a safe space for women, because it's a place where we know that we can come to each other for anything.
Absolutely.
But it is something that obviously has happened, and it happens a lot. It's just not being talked about enough, and I think people like you, Chelli, I really do, that you're strong enough and that you can come forward and courageous enough that you can help others. Chelli, one last thing, your exit question. If you can change one thing in the world, what would it be?
I would, if I change it, what I would want for the world is that every person to understand and love and accept themselves, and then understand that we're all connected.
That is so true.
The actions of you affect me, we all the actions, it's butterfly effect. We're all connected. So, so if you make decisions and you live your life knowing that, what you do affects the lives of the people around you, I just wonder how different the world would be. And I think there'd be a lot less war, or maybe it'd be gone altogether, a lot less divisiveness, a lot less judgment, a lot less, having to put people in categories.
Chelli, people like you are so needed. I really admire your journey. And I guess that's the whole idea that I'm trying to put out there, that I believe the biggest reason that we are here is to be there for one another.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much, Chelli, for being with us.
Thank you.
Oh, it was my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. For more information on Chelli Wolford, please go to godisthecure.com and look under guests. Now, I talk to God all the time. I don't believe God speaks to us back. He just influences things, like my thoughts or ideas. The good ones are derived from Him, where the bad ideas and thoughts come from the enemy. It's when we have to make a choice. So here's a good prayer a friend sent me. When you wake up, say, Jesus, I love you. When leaving the house, say, Jesus, come with me. When you feel like crying, say, Jesus, hug me. When you feel happy, say, Jesus, I adore you. When you do something, say, Jesus, help me. When you make a mistake, say, Jesus, forgive me. When you go to sleep, say, thank you, Jesus, and cover me with your holy mantle. This is Aimee Cabo. You have been listening to The Cure. Check out our podcast. Look for The Cure.